Shinomiya refused to be defiled by the fat man. She activated the bomb she had hidden in her pocket, determined to take him down with her. The fat man was so terrified he wet himself. He ran away without even pulling up his pants. Shinomiya wouldn't let him escape. She threw the bomb at him. The massive explosion obliterated him. Shinomiya felt no guilt over his death. Instead, she felt proud of being able to protect herself. At that moment, she was no longer lost. Men were the worst, especially the ones on this island. From now on, she would kill any she encountered. But just then, a man appeared across the river. The worst. This man was Japan's top battle royale player, and ranked 10th in the world. In the game, he was a legendary undefeated player, worshipped by many. He even got married in this virtual world. But in real life, he was just a jobless recluse. His name was Sakamoto. He spent his days doing nothing but gaming. One day his mother tried to convince him to work at a relative's ramen shop. But Sakamoto got annoyed. He yelled at her to get out of his room. Seeing her son beyond saving, the mom signed a contract with a mysterious organization. When Sakamoto left the convenience store, 2 men in black approached him. When he woke up again, he found himself on a deserted island. To his horror, he had no memory of how he got there. He tried calling for help, but there was no signal. A strange gem was embedded in his hand. At least he felt fine physically. Looking around, he found his backpack and a mysterious white satchel. Since the jungle is full of scary insects, Sakamoto rushed outside. He barely made it out of the jungle. He realized something even worse. He was stranded on a deserted island. Thankfully, his backpack still had a meal inside. The white satchel contained 8 small cubes. Accidentally, he pressed a button on one. A 10-second countdown appeared. Watching the numbers count down, Sakamoto had a bad feeling. He threw the cube away with all his might. After this, Sakamoto realized the bag was full of timed bombs. Just then, he saw a figure in the distance. Sakamoto waved for help. The person immediately pulled out a bomb. Caught off guard, Sakamoto was blasted to the ground. The scene felt eerily familiar, just like the game he used to play. Could this be a real-life battle royale? Before he could think, a blonde man came charging with more bombs. Sakamoto grabbed his gear and ran for his life. He had no idea what was happening. Why was that man trying to kill him? Even the blonde man seemed confused by Sakamoto's lack of resistance. Sakamoto raised his hands in surrender. But all he got in return was another bomb. Using the explosion and rising smoke, Sakamoto vanished from the blonde man's sight. That's when he noticed. He could vaguely sense the blonde man's position. If the gem on his hand worked like the radar in his game, then the enemy could also sense his location. At this rate, he'd be blown to bits. Quickly, he analyzed the 2 types of bombs. The blonde man's bombs exploded on impact. His own were 10-second timed explosives. A head-on fight would be suicide. With that thought, he came up with a plan. He shouted and ran out, then dove straight into the sea. The blonde man grinned in excitement. If Sakamoto surfaced for air, he'd blast him. But what he didn't know was that Sakamoto was counting down in his mind. Because just before jumping, he had planted a timed bomb on the cliff. As the explosion erupted, rubble and pieces of the blonde man fell into the sea. Killing for the first time made Sakamoto sick. He vomited up everything he had eaten. But after the fight, he obtained the blonde man's impact bombs. The girl before him, what had she been through on this island? Why was she obsessively scrubbing herself with a wet towel? Just one day ago, Shinomiya was just an ordinary high school girl. However, one night after finishing her game, Shinomiya was sent to a deserted island. Gazing at the endless sea, she wondered if the only way to escape was to defeat the enemies beyond the horizon. She found a satchel beside her. It was filled with bombs. Shinomiya wandered along the shore. There wasn't a single soul in sight. She had no idea where to go. Lost in thought, she eventually fell asleep. When she woke up again, 3 strange men stood before her. Shinomiya immediately became alert. One of the men told her not to worry. He assured her they meant no harm. Instead, they invited her to join their group and survive together. The man explained that they, like her, were forced into this deadly game. Everyone had a satchel filled with bombs. But this makeshift team was far from united. Arguments broke out over disagreements. 2 of them were even close to throwing bombs at each other. The fat man intervened just in time. He suggested handing over all their bombs to the girl for safekeeping. The others quickly agreed. After all, she seemed too weak to pose any real threat. Suddenly, a plane appeared in the sky, dropped a supply crate. Everyone rushed toward it. Inside was a box filled with food. There was even sunscreen. The three men were overjoyed. They immediately started devouring the food. When the bearded man returned, he scolded them loudly. He reminded them that food was precious here. They should ration it carefully. As he kept lecturing them, the man in a headscarf lost patience. He suddenly pulled out a knife and slit the bearded man's throat. Blood splattered onto Shinomiya. Before she could even process the horror, the bearded man collapsed dead. This moment proved one thing: never talk too much when others are eating. The headscarf man's ruthless act made the fat man feel uneasy. Before dawn, the fat man quietly woke the girl. He urged Shinomiya to grab supplies and escape with him, otherwise they might end up as the next victims of the headscarf man. After a brief hesitation, Shinomiya realized he had a point. They took all the bombs and food with them, and began their escape. However, while resting, the fat man accidentally activated his radar. He noticed the headscarf man was quickly closing in. While running, he explained to Shinomiya how to use the radar on their hands. Soon Shinomiya activated hers as well. Sure enough, the headscarf man was tracking them. They ran until they reached a suspension bridge. Just as the fat man was about to suggest another route, the headscarf man appeared. Hearing about the radar, he looked confused. As he got closer, the fat man threw his bomb at him. However, their bombs worked differently. The fat man's bomb released a large amount of corrosive gas. After successfully escaping, he continued dragging Shinomiya along. Frustrated that he wouldn't let go, Shinomiya punched him straight in the nose. But his thick skin barely felt it. Instead, he grabbed her and began rubbing his face against her. Shinomiya responded with a vicious headbutt to his chin. She broke free, but the fat man wasn't giving up. "Stop it. I'll protect you, I promise." "No." A powerful electric shock knocked him out. Shinomiya hid alone in the corner. However, when he woke up, he used his radar to track her location. There was no time to run now. He pinned her down and smacked the stun gun out of her hands. "I'm going to punish you. Prepare yourself." At that moment, Shinomiya was completely at his mercy. Due to the graphic nature of what followed, we'll sum it up with a few words: rip, grab, lick, suck. Just as the fat man pulled down his pants ready to take things further, Shinomiya refused to let herself be defiled. At that moment, planes began dropping supply crates. Quick on his feet, Sakamoto raced towards the nearest drop. The reason the organizers provided such obvious supply drops was to encourage fights over food. One unfortunate player stepped into a hidden trap and was instantly blown up. Scenes like this played out at every supply drop. Fighting for food meant risking death, but without food, survival was impossible. So Sakamoto and Shinomiya decided to head to another supply drop. Honestly, Bear Grylls would be the perfect contestant for this game. After all, food sources were everywhere. This was the most hardcore father-son relationship I'd ever seen. Because of a disagreement over food, the father brutally punched his son. But the son's counterattack was even more shocking. He placed a bomb directly on his father's chest. The man frantically tore off his shirt trying to shake it off. But it was too late. "You little brat, you're really testing me. This is the first time you fought back against your father." Just a moment ago, 3 people had found a supply crate on the island, but it was stuck in the branches of a tree. To get the supplies, the father grabbed a bomb from his son, but strangely he couldn't activate it. Neither could anyone else. The man with glasses concluded that only the original owner could detonate it. Sure enough, when the boy placed the bomb on the tree, it activated immediately. The explosion hollowed out the trunk from the inside. Without support, the massive tree collapsed. The father successfully retrieved the supply crate. Inside there was everything they needed, even alcohol. Without hesitation, the father shut the crate. He planned to keep everything for himself. The man with glasses protested. "This was a team effort, we should share it." The father stepped forward, ready to settle it by force. "Got a problem with that? Pathetic. What did you just say, you little bastard?" Seeing his son dare to talk back, the man delivered a brutal blow. The way he struck showed years of experience. And in truth, he was. Whenever things didn't go his way, he used his son as a punching bag. But this time the boy refused to take it. Roaring with rage, he slammed a bomb onto his father's chest. The bomb activated instantly. The man had no time to take off his shirt. Half of his body was blown to bits. The man with glasses dropped to his knees vomiting. This father and son were worse than he imagined. Seeing the madness in the boy's eyes, he turned and walked away without looking back. Liar. Just then, Sakamoto and the old man arrived while searching for supplies. Seeing the corpse beside the boy, both were stunned. They could tell this boy was extremely dangerous. As the boy reached for a bomb, Sakamoto and the old man bolted. But the boy had already set his sights on them. Using his radar, he quickly locked onto their positions. Just as Sakamoto considered fighting back, the old man tripped over a tree root. Pain shot through his leg, making it impossible to run. But the old man was tough. He told Sakamoto to leave him behind. "Don't waste your life on me." Sakamoto hesitated. Was it really worth risking his life for someone he just met? In the end, he refused to abandon him. He told the old man to hide and stay still. If he didn't move, the radar wouldn't detect him. Meanwhile, Sakamoto would lure the boy away. Checking the radar, he saw the boy was already close. In that instant, he made a choice. To advance instead of retreat. He sprinted straight toward the boy. His unexpected move caught the boy off guard. He reacted quickly, immediately throwing another bomb. Sakamoto knew instantly. This kid had played the game before, and he was a high-level 3-star player. But that didn't intimidate Sakamoto. He was Japan's only 4-star ranked player. As the two chased each other down, the old man managed to retrieve the dead man's chip. Meanwhile, Sakamoto planted a timed bomb along his escape route. But due to the distance,